And a lot of people have a hard time doing that because the zone of like excellence is where sometimes you make a lot of money, even if you don't like it, even if you don't feel comfortable. And getting out of that and getting into a zone of genius where you feel comfortable doing all those things and still making money is harder.
Hi, and welcome to The Road to Revenue. This is the podcast where we talk to creators to understand the bumps in the road, the twists, the turns, everything on their own personal road to revenue. Joining me today, I have the absolutely amazing Shelly. Welcome, Shelly.
Hey, everyone. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited
to be here. Normally you're saving your own day, but today you're saving ours. So we're super, super excited.
I'll try.
So Road to Revenue, we are super keen. Creators, it's a common conversation. Everyone's having it. But what I want to do is understand a little bit more of the origin story. What was it that first motivated you to actually pick up a microphone, pick up a camera, stick yourself in front of it, and make this a thing? What was it, 6-7 years ago, or?
Yeah, it's about that. So what's funny is this is my, third YouTube channel, something like that, officially, which is funny because now I still have many. But originally I came to YouTube because of an NFL cheerleading team. I was trying out for a team, and the coach, after one of the dance sessions, was like, because she was giving tips to everyone, she's like, great dancing, you need to go learn how to do makeup. And she wasn't wrong, because I'd never really worn a lot of makeup. And she's like, you need to go to the Mac counter and have them do a makeover for you and, you know, get the stuff. And then I had all this stuff and I'm like, I don't know what to do with it. So I started going down the rabbit hole of what was like beauty YouTube video tutorials at the time. And then fast forward a few years, I was like, you know what? I know that I am not talented enough to go tell people about how to do some sort of smoky eye, but I have opinions on things that come out of subscription boxes because I was also getting them. They were very big at the time, like Ipsy, BoxyCharm. So I was like, I can do this. I can just say what I think of the things as I'm unboxing them. So I did one video, and so that was my very first YouTube channel. And then I went to a dinner at a friend's house and I said, oh, I kind of started a YouTube channel. You know how you do, and you're kind of like embarrassed and you're not really telling anyone. And she's like, oh my God, I want to do that too. Let's do it together. And I was like, all right. So that was the next YouTube channel, was we started one so that we could do this together, because she was also receiving these same subscription boxes. And we did that for 9 months. And then it became this thing where I wanted to talk about the creator journey. Like, how do we set up the filming equipment? How do we talk about editing? What do we talk about with creators for lighting? And she was like, I want to talk about skincare. So we ended up switching and kind of breaking apart the channels. And then that's when this channel that we're probably talking about was born. So this is my third YouTube channel. So I could finally talk about those things that I wanted to, like video editing and lighting and being on YouTube, because I thought it was important to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, there are an incredible number of variations and different pieces of technology and software. So I know I've watched a lot of your tutorials. They are absolutely incredible. I have.
Thank you.
I started as a fan. So now you've done a wide range of, so it's not just, you don't stick to one platform or.
That's a very kind way of saying that you're all over the place. I appreciate that. I really do.
Well, no, I think that the reality of being a creator is that you kind of have to be all over the place in terms of the technology that you're using. So I think for me, it seemed like you were reflecting that. But how do you pick what it is that you work with, that you review? What becomes a tutorial?
Well, a lot of the time it's just from personal life experience. So I was learning how to do this special effect, and I thought, wow, I should probably record it just in case I forget how to do it, which I have done before. And I remember specifically I'd learned how to cut people out inside of Photoshop. This was before the auto magic that was like the automatic cutout. And so I was like, how do I do this? And I remember I did a tutorial on it because I learned it from like Pixie Imperfect or someplace, of course, that you learn. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. I'm going to film it. And then I ended up like putting it out. And then like a couple months later when I needed to do it, I went back to my own tutorial to watch it. So sometimes it's just for me, so I can like remind myself how to do it later.
Brilliant.
But other times it's questions that people have when they ask me like, oh, I did this. Well, it didn't work for me when I wanted to do it. So I'm like, well, that's weird. Let me try it. And then I try it, and then I film it, and then I tell them like, this is how you do it. So it comes from both personal experience as well as.
I love it because it's almost like a second brain.
Yeah. it's a mental journal. It's a video journal, right? Like I learned how to do this thing. Let me just like put it down, and then I don't have to remember how to do this thing. I just remember to come back and watch it.
Oh no,
later.
that's absolutely brilliant. So when you started off doing the all the tutorials and kind of you made that leap, like at what point did revenue even come into the conversation, or did it even come into your mind? Was it a thought early on? Was it not? When was there a moment that you kind of thought, hang on a minute, maybe there's some money in this?
You know, it's funny. At the beginning, no, it wasn't really a thought that I had in my mind, because the tutorial and educational part always came more naturally because I wanted to share with people. And one of the things I really wanted to do is just, I don't like people who give it a lot of excuses. Well, I don't know how to do this, or I don't have the money to do this, or so I was always kind of like, well, put up or shut up. Let me show you how to do it for cheap or for free, or just how to do it, period. And then you can't use that. You have to remove that excuse. And then it comes down to like, I'm scared, or I don't want to, or I don't make the time, right? But you have to remove those first things first. And so as the daughter of a school teacher, like education was just always in my back pocket. And I was always like, well, if you learned it, you should teach it, because you always don't know how well you know something until you try and teach it to others, right? And you're just like trying. So it was always in my like wheelhouse to do tutorials. And I think what's funny is like later on, maybe I should not have chosen a free software. And I consciously at the beginning made that choice. I was like, oh, I'm going to do a whole bunch of iMovie tutorials because iMovie's for free on a Mac, and you should have access to this. So I went like full force on iMovie tutorials for a while. And then it became harder because like I had some of these videos take off, and then I was like, but I'm not making any money because you get paid abysmally for the views. And then I was just like, I can't get any affiliate revenue for recommending iMovie because iMovie's free. So later on down the line, I finally, I went to Vid Summit. I started talking to some people, and they're also like, where's your email list? Where's your course? Where's your whatever? And I'm like, guys, I'm just teaching people stuff. And they're like, no, like, money, right? And I'm like, yeah, I guess I need some of that. So I tried to make a course, and that was originally one of the first ways that I was doing that. And of course, trying to like link affiliate products. And I was still at that time also trying to weave some beauty stuff in there. So I was trying to even make some tutorials like how to do this like a beauty person, or like, so I would bring in the product and I would try and link the product in Amazon or something like that to like, maybe someone will see that I'm doing a tutorial on how to remove the background of this beauty product, and they'll be like, I would like this beauty product. Yeah, I was trying. It was a far stretch, but so I started thinking about like interweaving some of these little ways, but it didn't come until like much, much later after I was already in. And one of the things that really brought it out was I did an entire series for a little while because, when you're in the beginning and you think all you can do is beauty videos or home type things or fashion because you're a woman, that's just a whole other conversation. I was doing a series where you test a new foundation every week because I'm trying to find like a perfect color. And then I was going out and I was spending all this money every week, but my channel wasn't making any money. So of course my channel was just a big negative money suck. And so I was like, I'm going to go broke. I don't have all this money to do this. So originally that's when I actually reached out to a lot of these beauty companies, and I started asking them, will you send me a foundation so I can make a video on it? And so at least I was getting money for, or like product for videos. And so that was one of the ways I was like, wow, you really have to work smarter, not harder.
So I don't know if that counts as creator math, but I think it might.
Creator math, I love it. Yeah.
Yeah. Where
I've heard of dog math and boy math and girl math. Creator math is completely a thing.
If it isn't, it is now.
It is now. You know what? Just because of that, I'm going to create a YouTube short called Creator Math, and I will totally,
Brilliant. I love it.
I love it.
So you hit the bump in the road of you're spending more. You're not getting as much coming in from views, but you actually then saw the light, figured you could get some free product, and actually then start to kind of flip that balance. But a bit of a slow start, taking that route.
Oh, slow. So slow.
What accelerated it? What took it forward a little bit faster, a little bit stronger, a little bit wider?
One of the things that happened to me along my journey is I ended up becoming a YouTube coach for like a big name that was out there. They don't do it as much now, but they had a coaching program that was a big high ticket thing. And it's a 90-day program. You work with coaches, of which I was one because I was recommended because a girl that I know was one of the coaches, and she was leaving to start her own thing. And so it was kind of a cool foot in the door to understand the inner workings behind some of these programs. And while I was there, it kind of like hit me. I was like, wow, this person makes more off of one cohort than I have in my entire life of like YouTube. And so, and then I started thinking, like, what do you need to be able to do this? And then, looking at all the other different ways that you make money. And I was like, so it really, back then I was talking about revenue pie, and I'm talking about everything with slices inside of it. And I started keeping track of like, where is my money coming from as a creator? So if it's my creator revenue pie, it was this much from Amazon and this much from AdSense and this much from, the course that did or didn't do that well. And so I started looking at it and I'm like, wow, I'm never going to get to where I want to unless I actually start making these bigger. And so that was one of the first things that really opened up my mind, because I was like, ooh, high ticket one-on-one coaching. And then like these little things, there was a self-paced course that was a lesser value, and then like, made money as well. And just kind of getting a peek at some of that, like how much money are you putting in? How much effort are you doing? Like, what are you doing when you hire people? It really got the brain wheels spinning. So I could, obviously I wasn't in the place to do that myself, but like at least think about it more. That was a big learning curve for me.
And so when you pick that up, when you kind of that penny dropped, if you will, what was the next action? What was that one? Because you've said already, you're not one for making excuses. You're not one for saying that I can't do because I don't know how. What did you take? What was the first action that you took following that penny dropping?
One of the things about me is I really don't like selling anything. And I think it's because I was in sales for like a good decade of my life. I was always doing YouTube at the same time as my corporate job or whatever jobs that I had. And part of, before I got to the corporate big tech world, I was in sales, a lot of sales, and non-commission sales, which is also kind of one of those where it's like an oxymoron if you think about it. I digress. But I was doing this, and I never really loved the feeling of selling stuff. And we had to sell everything, from extended warranties to upgraded everything to adding cables to just the whole thing. And so I went so on the opposite side of that, on like antithesis. I was like, I'm never going to ask my audience to buy anything. I'm never going to make anyone like have to ask. And I think what's really funny is like, you have to change your creator mindset as well to actually be able to understand that sometimes you have to make money too. So that came from then when companies were wanting to send me stuff, being like, oh, well, it's not free anymore. Now it's my time and cost to do this, or understanding how much I was making off of Amazon. And really, when I started looking at it, I was just like, the reason why in the past you might have felt icky was because maybe you thought you were pushing things on people who didn't want it. The difference is now, as a creator or someone, people are basically asking you for things. And so if you have a solution to provide and a shortcut to get them from where they would like to be to where they would like to go, that's okay to ask for money for that. And so it was actually quite a mind shift that happened for me to be able to do. I still don't like it, and I still am not great at it, but I have realized it's a necessary evil. So it's also one of those things where you have to figure out if you're really not good at it or if you just don't like doing it. Because I'm actually pretty good at it, I just don't like doing it. So I also know then what I could do is hire someone to go do that for me, and then just not have to do that. Does that make sense? There's a inventory that you take. Like, you can be good at it and not like it, or you can be like, and I think that's where we get into, I was watching a live stream that was happening between Chris Do from the future. And he was talking about to a woman, he's like, sometimes you have to escape your zone of excellence to get into a zone of genius. And a lot of people have a hard time doing that, because the zone of like excellence is where sometimes you make a lot of money, even if you don't like it, even if you don't feel comfortable. And getting out of that and getting into a zone of genius where you feel comfortable doing all those things and still making money is harder for a lot of people. So I'm still in that transition, but I'm working on it. And it is definitely getting better.
Oh, it's brilliant. And I do hear what you're saying. It's there's a skill set, and being able to apply those skills for good. No one's ever going to complain about that. And I'm sure I'm sure your community are eager for anything that you can offer them that helps them to either have a shortcut or learn something more quickly, or learn something that otherwise they wouldn't without you. So.
Yeah, it's a little bit of that Gary Vee mentality, right? Like that had like give, 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 and you don't really have to ask, but one day when you do, like
Yeah.
they're willing.
Okay. And so talking about some of those little light bulb moments, that mindset shift. What's one of the, and I guess are there multiple myths, or are there any myths that you've kind of hit upon, or you keep hearing those when people start talking about revenue, that myth that keeps up that just won't go away?
Oh gosh, I always tell people so much, like shooting for at least 10 streams of income is always the goal, because people always think like YouTube AdSense is permission to start making money, when I know lots of channels that actually aren't even monetized and they're still making money because they're authorities in their, field, or they're just using it to drive people into a funnel to buy things. So it's really interesting, again, changing the mindset of like, oh, I have to wait until I get like monetized. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but like if you're getting $1 for every 1,000 views, I remember I was doing some YouTube coaching for someone else, and I was having a conversation with them, and they're like, okay, well, I'm going to buy this TV and just for this YouTube channel. And I was just like, do you want this TV? And he's like, well, not really. And I'm like, okay, well, how much is the TV? It's $1,000. And I'm like, okay, so at 1,000, let's say 1,000 views and $1, how many views do you need to get to pay for this TV? He's like, I don't know, like 100,000, let's say. And I was like, do you get 100,000 on average now for your video views? And he's like, no, it's probably like 100 views. And I was like, then if you don't actually need this TV and you're not just like filming it because you're unboxing it at home and ready to watch the football game or whatever else you're watching, don't do this, because it's not worth. This is creator math gone bad. This is where you're like, oh, no, it's going to be fine. I'm going to make money back. And you made $2 back. Like that doesn't even make sense. So yes, let's teach the world about creator math, because it's not worth going into debt. And the other myths are like, I have to have the best equipment. I have a girl right now, like I helped her get $100 worth of accessories for a better microphone and a better light. And she's now filming like videos for YouTube on her iPhone.
Brilliant.
Okay. And so she has views that are in the thousands on a brand new YouTube channel. And you've got some people going out there and buying these, big Sony $3,000 cameras, don't know anything about the settings, actually end up not knowing anything about lighting or microphone, or just forgot one or the other, and go out there and think that because they spent money, that it's like the equivalent of someone who then like shot in log and then forgot to ever put a color LUT on it, and then they go out and they're like, but it's what all the experts do. And I'm like, oh, you forgot a step. And that wasn't important, because that didn't make you a better storyteller and didn't move it along any better. So it's funny what people believe are the limiting things before they can start a YouTube channel, whether it's, success after hitting monetization or getting the right equipment to even start in the first place.
And you mentioned earlier, like, that is one of those things that you like to tackle, get those things out of the way, so there are no excuses. I can't do this. I don't know this. I don't have that. What is it that do you think, and is there a theme where there's something that triggers people to go down the gear route or go down the skill route and kind of constantly chase that? Is there something that comes up in there? Do you think, I look at creators that I admire and I think, oh, actually, they use that equipment, they use this software, that might be helpful and useful to me. But that's always my measure, that it would be useful or not. Is that pull of wanting to be like their creator so bad, or with such intensity, wanting to be like the creator with such intensity, do you think that's a big factor in why they want to replicate their gear or their software?
I think it's a couple reasons. First of all, it's comparisonitis, right? They're like, well, if I don't have the same camera as Marquez, then I'm not going to have videos as good. And I'm like, Marquez has built an entire YouTube channel called Autofocus, if you've seen it, where he shoots all of those videos off of his cell phone. And sometimes it's a Pixel phone, sometimes it's an iPhone, whatever he happens to be testing, sometimes for his main channel. But like that entire YouTube channel is shot with a phone. And it is wildly successful. So it's just mind-boggling to me that people think, oh, well, one, if I get the same equipment as, it's going to be great. Or because again, before you ever upgrade the video, I always tell this to people, I would upgrade audio and lighting first before. And then I was like, it's also mind-boggling where you think about not only, okay, I have to have this equipment, but like you have the equipment, but you don't have the wherewithal or the years or thousands of video repetitions that they have, or it's like, wow, before you go out there and spend $300 on Final Cut Pro, why don't you use iMovie because it's free? Because you may go in to this entire thing, becoming a creator, go 50 videos deep, and then be like, I hate this. I don't like it at all. I don't even want to do it. And what happens if you just drop $3,000 on a brand new computer and camera and software? And now you have this thing that's just going to sit on a shelf. And so I am always a big proponent of use what you have until you can't do what you need to with it, even creatively. And then if you can find a solution that will fix your problem, then do that. But I'm not a big proponent of go out and buy the entire thing, because if you build it, they will come. It's not the same. It's not the same, because I know plenty of people who have a YouTube channel off of their phone. My friend El Jefe Reviews had an entire YouTube channel where I think he got to 40 or 50,000 before the community banded together and said, hey, stop shooting off your cell phone. Let's get you a camera. So, I mean, he was fine. And he now has a silver play button, and he's doing just fine with all the gear that he has. So it's just, I think, an excuse. People are like, well, once I have this camera, once I save up for this camera, or once I lose the 10 pounds, or once I, buy this new light, or once I have this better microphone, then. And I'm just like, gosh, wouldn't it be better if you had 30 videos under your belt and then you got that thing, and then people could comment on how much better it was, or that you also learned some things along the way making those 30 videos. So that's just me, though, personally. I just don't wait for that day, because that day may never come. You may never buy that camera. You might not never lose the 10 pounds, and that's fine. My friend Jessica Stansberry said, if I'd waited to lose the 10 pounds to start a YouTube channel, I still wouldn't have started it, because I've only gone up in weight since then. And, her channel's also wildly successful. So I feel like people always have these excuses in their pockets as to why they can't. And I'm just more like, put up or shut up.
That's brilliant. That's absolutely brilliant. And I do think sweep all the excuses under the rug, get rid of them so you can't even see them, and then move on.
Right. And what's left is the truth, right? The truth is I'm scared because people are going to say things. Okay, well, let's go worst case scenario. What are they going to say? Okay, if they say this, what do you do? Oh, I probably add that to my blocked words. Oh, if they say this, what do you do? Oh, I probably block them. And I'm like, okay, well, now people can't say mean things to you. So what's your next one? Oh, well, right? So it's like that. When you strip it all away at the end of the day, a lot of people are just scared of comparison, scared of people they know, like seeing it, saying things. And I'm like, well, there's a solution for a lot of those things, but you're never going to get better until you actually do it. So that's where I stand with that.
Brilliant. So talking about kit specifically, what's the one piece that you think actually you can't live without? And might not be the most expensive, might not be the cheapest, but it's that one thing that you think, oh my gosh, this absolutely is my dream.
Are you talking about dream equipment
No.
that you don't have? Or
So,
just saying it's stuff that you have now?
So let me ask it another way. So,
yeah, sure.
So what's that one piece of kit that you have that you absolutely cannot live without?
You know what's funny is I don't think I have something. Is that, I don't know. I don't know if that's a record for your show, but
It is.
I don't think I have something, because honestly, I will make do, because I've gone through 6 different cameras. Sometimes I shoot off my cell phone. I've tried 3, 4, 5, 6 different mics. I've had like 7 different tripods. So I can't really think of anything where I'm just like, absolutely can't. I've made things edited off my iPod. Like, I had a video kind of for me go viral about how to restore the bottoms of your red shoes with this shoe paint. So off-brand. It was just because it was something I was doing personally, and I sat there with an old potato of an iPad I think it did 720, and then I edited in iMovie and I uploaded that, and I think it has like 200,000 views. And so like I have never been caught up in any of that. And if someone says it sounds like a potato or looks like it was shot on a potato, great, then I look forward to watching your video. But I can't really think of anything that I'm just like, oh my god, I would die. I would just move on to the next thing.
No.
Is that bad?
No,
I'm
no.
so sorry. I feel like I should have.
No. I think there's a lot of wisdom in that, and I think being able to be adaptable, being able to be versatile in the equipment that you use, and resourceful, right? Like it's the saying that it's not about resources, it's about resourcefulness, and I think it makes
right. So my very first light, because I couldn't afford a Diva light, which was like the ring light that was real fancy for beauty people back in the day. I made my first ring light, and that video is still on the YouTube channel, the old beauty channel I had with my friend. We did it out of cardboard, tinfoil, and sticky lights from Amazon. The whole thing was $30, and it was zip tied to a paper towel holder.
I love it.
And that was my light for I don't know, 20, 30 videos. So
that's absolutely brilliant.
and then when I could afford one, I got a better ring light, you know. So and then when I could, then I got two or something, and then I got a softbox. I mean, it just kind of. I'm so sorry.
But I do feel like that light should be in the Shelly Saves the Day Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I should build it again.
Oh, absolutely! You can have a retro day.
Right.
So going on
and shoot it off my iPad.
Definitely, it would only be appropriate.
Bring out the paper towel holder.
So going the other way. Is there a piece of kit that you got that you thought was going to do the job, that you thought, yeah, you know what, this is going to actually work for me. This is actually going to be going to help my workflow, going to make it easier. There a piece of kit that you looked at and went, yep, I love it. I want it. It's going to do what I need it to do, but then was a total flop.
You know what? I mean, half of it's my own fault, but I bought it. It wasn't even like the GoPro. It was like a knockoff version of the GoPro that I found on Amazon that had fairly good reviews. And I thought I was going to like be filming things outside and underwater and all these things. And like, at the time, I made iMovie tutorials. What was I thinking? Anyways, it doesn't matter. I got this thing and then I was all excited. I went to Thailand on this like bucket list, trip. And we were going to go hang out with the elephants at this elephant sanctuary. And I'm like, oh, this is going to be perfect. So I had my little GoPro knockoff thing, and it was, going to be in the mud and underwater because you have to go on some other day to an island with monkeys that are like running around. So it's like, oh, GoPro all the. Guess who forgot the internal memory card? So I sat there and I just used my phone. And so it is just one of those moments where I was just like, best laid plans, man. And again, adaptability, and you just move on to the next best thing. And honestly, it was fine. And it was better than fine with my phone, because actually some of the videos that ended up coming off of it were kind of wonky. It had a really awful file transfer system to get the videos off and back onto your phone. And here I was thinking that I was going to be doing all these really cool things, and I was going to take these. I never even got any footage that was even useful or good to look at off of that thing. And I think I used it once, and it was on the island with the monkeys. And then I was so mad at myself about the whole elephant thing that it just sat in the bag for the rest of the whole rest of the trip. So I would say that. And I ended up giving it away to like a girlfriend of mine who has a son who wanted to get into, like, wanted to put it on a dirt bike or something. I was like, have at it, because this thing, just bad memories attached to it. So yeah, I would never buy that again. And what's funny is I still look at GoPros and I'm like, should I get one? And I'm like, girl, why? You go nowhere. But like, I want one. And I call that, the gas, the gear acquisition syndrome. And I'm just like, I want it. Do I need it? Absolutely not. Do I want it? I sure do. Sure do.
That's brilliant. But I'm sorry for bringing such traumatic memories.
It's okay. It's all right.
So when we talk to creators, right, we've got loads of different tips and tricks and techniques, and everyone's got an opinion on all the different aspects of being a creator. But what's that one piece of advice that resonated with you that has just really stuck, you keep going back to?
Get comfortable being uncomfortable. There's just nothing when it comes to sometimes being a creator that doesn't make you feeling less than in a lot of ways. And so for a lot of people that can be really crippling, and they're like, oh, I'm in a turtle, which means like you just go inwards and you just like kind of like stop and you don't do anything. And so it has happened at every single facet of every single time I've ever tried to do something new, whether it's learning some new trick in an editing program, or trying some new thing for the first time, or, the first time that you decide, oh, I'm going to take on a coaching client, or the first time you edit work for other people, or the first time, there was a lot of things where I was like, oh, how do I run a business? And I even did a live stream about this, because I share a lot of the journeys and pitfalls and everything, including my revenue. I did an entire series for a year where I shared my revenue breakdown, my revenue pie, as I call it. And I shared it with everyone because I don't feel like there's a lot of transparency when it comes to a lot of creators, money, online, any of that space. So I shared with them. I was like, I'm trying to get to a goal. This is my monthly goal that I want to get to. And this is how I'm doing. And this is how my revenue stacks up this month. And I think that those videos at least for my community, was eye-opening for a lot of them, because they always have the assumption that you make a lot of money for a YouTube channel of any size. And I would be like, oh, like you can see in my revenue slices, it's like 3% of my income. If I was waiting for permission to make money for 3% of my income, I would never get to the money amount that I wanted to. And then it became like, okay, well, if I am going to sell services, how am I going to do that? I guess I'm going to need to build a website. And so I was like, well, what am I going to do? And it's always that next logical step, next up, And I was like, okay, well, I can buy a domain through the time at Google Domains. And when you do that, you get free web hosting through their website provider, like their Google sites. I was like, cool. So I built a website and I got a domain for $12. And then in there, I figured out how to hook up a PayPal button to it. And I started selling content minis. And then someone signed up and I'm like, oh crap, what do I do? And then, right. And it was like, get comfortable with feeling uncomfortable. And then it was like, oh, shoot, now I have 4 or 5 people. Now I'm feeling overwhelmed and I'm working at 2:00 in the morning and I don't want to be. I'm going to have to hire help. Oh, shoot, what do I do? I'm going to have to hire help. What do I do as I have to go through that process? Well, you're going to have to hire. So how do I do that? Well, go interview them and then try them out. And if it doesn't work, let them go or train them. And so everything is just one of those feeling uncomfortable, finding the solution you can do in that moment and moving forward. And I feel like that is the biggest advice that I can give for anyone is you're going to have to take that moment. You're going to have to, even if you have a pity party for a minute, you can be like, okay, I don't know what to do right now. Cool, let's draw out a plan. Let's try something. If it doesn't work, let's try something else. That wasn't the right path. I think it was Edison, right? Where they were like, I didn't fail at building a light bulb 1,000 times. I found 999 ways not to do it. And I feel like it's the same way being a creator. You just find a lot of ways not to do it or things that you try and maybe went well and then you want to tweak and get better at it. So that's all I can say is just keep moving forward. Always find the next logical step and move forward. But just know you're never going to rest and one day just be like, oh, I feel so comfortable, because by then you're probably not growing. So if you want to grow, you're probably going to have to feel uncomfortable.
That's amazing. It's absolutely amazing advice, that. And you well,
people will be like, no. And I'll be like, you're too comfortable. Let me tell you right now.
But you live your own advice, which is great. You can see that certainly all the live streams that you do. I mean, and that is something. I mean, live streaming is one of those things that's slightly different than doing pre-recorded.
It's a train wreck.
Yeah. And how long have you been doing live streams for now?
What's so funny is I was already live streaming pretty regularly. I actually ended up getting a sponsorship with a company to do basically continue what I was doing, just make sure that I mentioned them and I used their product while I was doing it. And so I started doing that. And so that really did it. So because I had told them, well, I'm going to do it every Thursday. And then even after the sponsorship ended, I was like, well, I'm still going to live stream. I'm just not getting paid from that company anymore. And so I've been doing it for years. And I always call it, when you're trying to change the bus or change the wheel while the bus is still in motion, it is that, because I feel like everyone should live stream though, because there's so many lessons and in fact, I did a live stream about live streaming, why you should do it and why it's still beneficial to anybody and the lessons that you learn from it, including being a better entrepreneur, because it's always next best thing. So talking about that, a few weeks ago, I tried to do a live stream, but for some reason our internet was down. And so I couldn't use the fancy setup and the microphone and stuff. And so I ended up going live off my phone, off of, my cell phone connection, because it wasn't fast enough to stream. That's just one of those things. I was like, well, I've committed. I'm going to do a live stream. I'm going to have to do it. What can I do right now with what I have? And it was use a cell phone. And that was fine. And and I still learned a whole bunch of things because I got a different opportunity to be part of a beta where you live stream and vertically from your phone. And then you provide feedback in 3 months or something and see how it goes. But I wouldn't have known some things if I hadn't tried to live stream off my phone vertically. So I was still learning things even as I was doing it. But was I uncomfortable and was I mad that I couldn't stream from my phone setup? Yeah. But do you move on to the next best thing? You do.
I think the fact that you don't dwell is absolutely incredible and definitely something that is worth modeling.
Oh, I dwell. I dwell in a deep pit of despair. I just don't do it when I'm live streaming. You can see me as I'm fumbling around. I'm like, talk amongst yourselves. It'll be fine. I'll be back in 2 minutes. It is. It's just kind of like you figure it out and you keep going. That's the whole trick, right? You figure it out.
Everything is figure-outable.
That's very Marie Forleo of you, and I love that you just said
absolutely. That. And none of us are not standing here, or none of us are standing here, but not on the. None of us who are standing here aren't standing on the shoulders of giants like Maria Forleo.
Absolutely. And a lot of what she's doing is, like Gary Vee is documenting, right? It was documenting the process and the progress and the lessons learned along the way. And what's funny is now people look at Marie TV, you know, thousands of episodes later and be like, oh, I could never be as polished as you. I could never do these things that I could. She's like, well, how do you think the first one felt? It was probably not great, you know? And it's the same, just like, you know, do you think Oprah's first interview was like the best she's ever done in her entire life? No, you know, or same with Barbara Walters, or same with anybody else. Like the first, and that's, I think, one of the comparisonitis problems that people have is they go look at, you know, an MKBHD video or see his studio tour and see this $1 million robot arm to come down and do this like meticulous shot that no one can imitate. I'm like, yeah, but you forget it's, you know, thousands upon thousands of videos, or he made 100 videos before he got to 100 subscribers. Oh no, I'm frozen with that stupid thing. Let me see if you can turn it off. Okay. People forget. Have you seen that in the reactions with Sonoma and the...
No.
Sorry, off
no.
subject. If you do, like, let me turn it off here. If you have reactions turned on, let me turn them off. Okay, so if I do like a double thumbs up or something like that, if reactions are turned on, it's now built into iOS where it will do like confetti or different things, or it has that like thumbs up bubble that comes up, and in certain programs it will freeze and like you'll have to like exit and come back in. It's a big pain in the butt. I don't know why they turned it on. By default it should be turn onable, not the other. So okay, sorry, where were we?
Oh no,
before?
do you know what, I love that. It's because this is the life of a creator, isn't it? Yeah.
That is the life of a creator, right? And you see it, you see the solution, you try and fix it, then you explain what happened and why you would want to not have it on or why it's annoying, and you move on, right? And you keep on moving on. Shoot, what was it? What we were just talking about?
So that's all right. What I do want to dig into though is I want to understand a little bit more about. So you said you spent a year actually sharing your revenue streams, talking through what your revenue pie looked like. What was the biggest learning that you got from doing that exercise?
Oh, that like so little of it came from YouTube. Right. So little of it. In fact, the majority of it ended up coming from Amazon. So, and that's a whole other thing in itself. But Amazon has like the Amazon Influencer Program, and which is separate from the associates program. And from associates, I'd been getting a measly, 10, 15, whatever dollars a month, but like little trickles become streams that become big old flows of income. But what's funny is once they launched the influencer program and I started investigating the different ways to use and utilize that, it ended up becoming sometimes like 50, 60, 70% of my income. But then what also happened as a lesson was that Amazon, just like YouTube, is always experimenting with stuff where product placement videos were, or if you would have certain subjects that were higher commissionable, or just like everything. So you could see fluctuations, even though you'd be putting out more videos on more products. So you would think that there would be a nice line with more videos out, more income, but it didn't turn out that way. They were all over the place sometimes. And so it could be, I could have 600 videos, which I do now. I think like over 600 videos on Amazon, but I make less money than like in my first couple months on Amazon when I had like 30 videos. So like obviously a lot of things are like happening. But what started also then coming to light was, what's really weird is I could go from $500 in Amazon money to $3,000 in Amazon money back to like 900. And I'm like, not only is it volatile and you can't count on it, like you just can't rely on it. So everything is always changing. And so it really then was like, what is something that you can control that is in your own wheelhouse too? So it became like editing for other people, doing consultations and strategy sessions with other creators. And those then became different because like I could understand, like I work 5 hours, I get 5 hours worth of pay. Whereas Amazon was like, I can work 5 hours. It could be $900. It could be $3,000, So it just, it became more of a, gosh, what happens also if you get kicked out of the program, which is a lot what happens for creators too sometimes with AdSense, right? All of a sudden you're found in violation of something on a channel and you're out of AdSense and you can't upload videos anymore. So what do you do? Back when ElsaGate and some of those whole things happened, people had entire teams that they ended up laying off. And I'm like, well, that's what happens when you have one slice of revenue pie that is the entire entree, right? It's supposed to be like AdSense is supposed to be, I always say, like the dessert, not the entree. But like what happens if that was all of your income? So I've talked to channels where it's a kids channel. And I'm like, you don't even have comments on your channel. You know, what happens if your entire monetization strategy goes away? What are you going to do? And they're like, I don't know. And I'm like, this is a question you should be asking. You should have a contingency plan and a plan to like diversify. And that's just what I do, though. I tell people what they're doing wrong. I don't always provide solutions. I just highlight the issues for them.
Sometimes being that mirror for people is helpful.
And someone needs to do it. You know,
being the mirror for someone sometimes is really helpful.
And that is something else I would learn too, is that sometimes you need to have creator conversations with other creators who understand what you're going through. So I have a weekly mastermind of people that I talk to. Some are business owners, some, you know, work at like big companies as YouTube strategists, or, you know, some have independent businesses where they're doing YouTube strategy or whatnot for themselves. And it's interesting to come together once a week and see not only how far we've come in a week, but where we are from a year past. And what's interesting about this group, we've been together over 2 years, which when I, over that actually. And when we go back and look at it, and we've talked to other people about different masterminds, we're like, you guys are still together? And we're like, no. And not only that, we like each other. And a lot of other masterminds like stop after 90 days. This one has like stayed, and it's always one of the highlights of my week. So definitely having those conversations open, honestly, with a group that you trust. Build yourself your own creator council.
Oh, that again, another great nugget. A creator council, definitely someone who you can bend the ear of, get the wisdom, and get the real truth feedback.
I mean, everything we've talked about, everything from contract, you know, renegotiations to, do you think this is reasonable to put in there, or like, how would you say this, or do you have any like new connections for possible job leads or like introductions you can make? It's important. It's networking at its, you know, hyperdrive finest.
So what's one of the things that you wish you were doing now but you're not quite ready to do in terms of revenue?
You know what? I wish I was doing like a 90-day creator program. Maybe not even necessarily for beginners, maybe for someone who's maybe tried it. And it's not that I don't love it. In fact, some of the people that I work with now are beginners. We've done everything from like coming up with a channel name to like brainstorming video ideas, and I mean, everything, the whole gamut, and the whole gamut, I will just say. But I think it would be really fun, instead of just doing a one-on-one, to actually have a cohort, you know, to run, let's just say 10 people through at a time, because I think there's something very special, just like I said, with that creator council, of having like your peers accountable. It's like going to a fitness class. I mean, it's great to go one-on-one, and I'm like, oh gosh, I'm spending all this money to get personal training, which is fantastic. But sometimes you want to feel like you're not alone in the creator journey. So having 5 or 10 people in the same kind of spot where you're at, so you don't feel alone, so that you guys build your own little like council amongst yourselves. And even if it's we don't like Shelly, or we love Shelly, or whatever it is, having like this little tribe mentality of something where you're all like rooting for each other and like maybe even helping each other. Like, I would love to see something like that, and maybe even something focused on like ways to strategize ideas for making more money. Because I always said before, that was one of my gifts, is I can help anybody else except for myself have ideas for how to make money. And so I think that'd be really fun to have a cohort of people run through that class.
Okay. I mean, it does absolutely sound like something that would be supremely useful and absolutely achievable.
Yeah.
So,
I think so. And I have friends that do like entire cohorts around, you know, just like brand sponsorships and like how to make the most of it. And that's fantastic. I think that's great. But I also think it would just be fun to brainstorm different ways that all these different people could make money, and then watch them try and do it or give advice on how to do it. Like, I just think that would be like really, really fun.
Cool. So
Creator College, Creator Commerce College, I don't know, something. Creator College.
Shelly Saves the Way now? Sees the Way? I don't know. It's a spin-off. So
yeah.
With the revenue streams, you mentioned you had 10 revenue streams. Has that grown? Are you still sitting on 10 at the moment, or and what are they?
Gosh, you know, since I stopped doing that series, like, I have to go back and look. And I think one of the ways, I mean, if you were to group in affiliates, then it would be like the less than 10, because I was saying some of these different affiliate paths were, separate. I mean, they are, but they all fall under a category of affiliate. But I still have like personal strategy sessions that I run. I do like coaching for like 90-day for people going through. I do ongoing maintenance. I do like channel reviews. So that's all like service-based me. Now I have a company that I'm running, which is Content Mini. So I have myself and 2 editors that I've hired now. I had to hire 2 people. And, we run content creation for people taking snippets out of like live streams or their longer videos. And then it now gradually turned into, now we're scheduling, because we had some of our clients be like, okay, I have all this stuff. Will you help me put it out? And we're like, nope, we're not touching that. And then we're like, well, then we're going to have to stop because I don't have time to put out all this content. And so finally, one of my clients finally wheedled me down enough to be like, can we just try it? And so we did. And then I'm like, you know what? It's not even as bad as I thought. And so now we're offering it to people. And it's actually the thing that I didn't want to do most is probably easier and more profitable because it takes less time to do the scheduling than it does the content creation. So we do scheduling and content creation now for people. I still have Amazon, not only the affiliate side, but the influencer program that I'm running. I still have an e-course that I have about iMovie video editing. So that's good. I have channel memberships on my YouTube channel, and obviously then AdSense through YouTube. And then just like a ton of affiliate programs for things that I actually use. So like softwares mostly that I use. So I don't know how many that was, but I still have all those.
Brilliant. No, absolutely brilliant. And very diverse, which is, yes. Absolutely. It's the advice you give everyone. So you're clearly taking some of your own medicine, yes, which is brilliant.
Yes.
The obviously now everyone is talking about it. Really curious to understand how it's impacted not just you as a creator, but how, whether your approach has changed, whether your workflow, actually what you're sharing out with other people in terms of leveraging the various AI tools that are available at the moment, and just AI in general.
What's funny is I'm running an experiment because I just love to experiment and test and try and report back on things. I have an entire YouTube channel that is pretty much kind of AI generated content. And so I go into ChatGPT and I give it a prompt and I ask it to return it in a table format. And I take that stuff and I suck it into a pre-made template that I've created inside of Canva. And I spit out, let's say in a couple of hours, 30 days, 60 days worth of YouTube shorts. And now I've put them through our scheduling system and put it into like TikTok and YouTube, and just to see and one of the TikTok channels now that's using all this content, every single video is over 900 views. I can't even get 900 views on some of my own TikToks on my personal channel with over 40,000 followers. This is a channel that now has 12 followers, and every single video is over 900. It's just fascinating because I love learning. I want to try it and test it and report back. And so ChatGPT, I'm using that. I also have a friend, Phil, formerly of TubeBuddy, who gave me access to a GPT that he created where it will suck in information about your own YouTube channel and maybe even give you some recommendations. And I was like, well, don't you threaten me with a good time. You give me that, Phil. And so I put it on my YouTube channel, and I have yet to take the advice. But it's funny because I was like, I always tell everyone who's watching my live streams, I'm like, there's not much more I can do to my own YouTube channel to screw it up even farther. So I'm willing to experiment here for the benefit of everyone else. And so I want to have Phil on for a chat about what do I do with this thing now? But I think it's interesting. And then, okay, so right now, automation tools that we're using, sometimes the brothers, because they're 2 brothers that are helping me as my editors, we either use Descript, and we use AI to automatically go in and understand what they're saying. Then we use the on-screen captions, and we export the SRT files for some of our clients for some of their YouTube videos. Or we use Premiere Pro to generate those captions. Sometimes generative fill in some of the AI tools like Photoshop, where you can say you know what, can you give me a different color shirt? Because in reality, some of our clients, they just do a few poses and faces for YouTube thumbnails. And if I can make it look like they're wearing a different shirt, then we have a library and bank of photos for them for their thumbnails at any given time. And I don't need to ask them for additional stills. So that's kind of fun. On some of the channels that we're focusing on, we also have access to A/B testing on some of the thumbnails. So getting that out there and understanding what people are using is kind of fun. And like I said, Canva is, sometimes I use the magic right inside of it or inside of Vista Social I have keyboard shortcuts that will say like, give me a LinkedIn short headline that would be talking about the benefit of using hand gestures and standing properly when public speaking. And then I go through the different topics that it gives me as like a headline. And then I choose the one that I like the best, and then I rework it. And then I ended up scheduling it for some of the people that we obviously are putting things out on LinkedIn for them. So it's lots of things like that, little things. I have tried some items like video.ai and Opus Clip. It's not there yet. And it definitely is giving more quantity than quality at this time. So sometimes it's nice to have a human eye on things to finesse. But I think what's interesting is it will never be this bad again, right? It should only get better. And inside of Descript as well, I've also done stuff where I've done a voice clone of myself. So I even had some YouTube shorts where I said, some of these lines that I'm saying right now are generated by AI or a computer, and some of them are actually me. Can you guess which one is which? And even my own audience, half the time, got it wrong. So I'm like, I either sound like a robot or that AI voice is pretty good. Either or. But I think it's just fascinating to play with all the fun tools. And I know I'm not even using it as far as other people can, because I know one of my clients said that he can feed in his voice into like Hey Jen, and then it will auto dub his voice into other languages. And so he was going to do that and then possibly have then the different audio tracks on YouTube so he doesn't have to open a Spanish speaking channel.
So one final question. It has been I won't say the elephant in the room. It's the boots in the room. Tell us about your
elephants, didn't you?
Oh,
you had to bring us.
I know. I've gone back to that action cam all those years ago. So, but the boots, they're amazing. Tell me about them.
I hope people are seeing them. So this is my boot wall. So it was born out of necessity because we just recently moved from a larger house to a smaller house, and we do not have room in the closet for my boot collection. And I figured they're so pretty. They're like art for your feet. So they should become now art for my wall, because I needed a backdrop anyway, because I had to disassemble my last backdrop at my old location. So if you go back and start looking through the live streams, you'll see like I had like a big backdrop and, you know, all of this stuff. And then like as I was starting to move, you saw like it was a white wall because I had taken down all of my stuff, and it was just like nothing. And then it came here and it was like a white wall, and then it turned into a partial boot wall, and now it's here. It's the boot wall.
Oh, it's absolutely brilliant.
2 reasons: because they're pretty, and I needed to put them someplace because we couldn't fit them in the closet.
So if they're going to appear on all of your live streams and all of your videos, and whenever you're interviewed like this, does that mean that you can use boot math?
Yes, absolutely. Boot math is completely a thing, because I was like, oh, wow, these boots are 75% off. That means they're basically free. That's like, I mean, you would be stupid not to buy these boots. And that's how some of these boots came to be here. And don't tell my husband there's 2 more pairs of boots coming, because they were 70% off. They were like,
but
you couldn't.
They are going to work very, very hard as your background. So
they are, right?
It's incredible value.
Some of the boots are actually retired dancing boots, because I'm on a dancing team that we wear boots, right? And so I had to retire the boots, and so I was like, oh, how sad. And so what I did was I bejeweled them with the YouTube logo. So I was like, no, now it's set decoration. Now I don't need to throw them away. They're here because they have a purpose.
And
that's boot
and,
math.
and am I right in understanding that those YouTube logos aren't the same, are they? They're not identical.
That is correct. Yeah. So my friend Jason, our Painfully Honest Tech, was the first and only person to ever comment on this. I don't know if you can see them, but one of them has slightly rounded edges and one of them is more straight edges. And that was a nod to some of the changes in logos that YouTube has had over the years, where some it used to be very like square, just like kind of where the subscribe button, it used to be like rectangular and then it turned into a pill. It was kind of like a nod to that. So one of them is rectangular or tried. It's hard with little rhinestones that you're gluing on to get the curve right. But yes, one is more curvy and one is more straight lines.
I absolutely love
And this pair though, over here, I will say all of these are hand bedazzled by myself. So this pair took like 40 hours to do. This green pair, those are white boots that I had to custom color paint combo because I was in love with those sorry for anyone who does not care at all about boots, but I'm going to tell you because we're here. That boot up there was a boot that I'd been dreaming about for years, and I could not get that color out of my mind, and I wanted these green boots, but I couldn't afford the boots, but they went on sale. So boot math, I have them now, but I had to wait 8 weeks for them because they were special order. But this one, I ended up getting a couple of different colors of paint. It was like a neon green, and I didn't realize that this is more gold. I did a silver, so it turned into this thing. And then I was like, well, you know what we should do? Green rhinestones. It's over here. So I ended up doing the green rhinestones. This took 32 hours.
Right.
So 32 hours to do the painting and the rhinestones, but these took 40 hours because of the different size rhinestones and just how intricate the design is.
That is absolutely incredible. The amount of detail and focus it has gone into those is absolutely unbelievable.
It wasn't wasted time though, because like most of the time I'm multitasking. I'll be listening to like a YouTube podcast or something, or I'll be doing that, and it's just a stress reliever at the end of the night. You can just kind of spend 15-20 minutes doing it, and you just kind of get in the zone. It's kind of nice to have something that like is a hobby, and you can have something to show for it.
Absolutely, and absolutely that you're also able to share with everyone else, because it looks incredible. It really does.
Thank you. We even now have a weekly section inside of the live stream called Boot of the Week. And so now people get to vote on which boot they would like me to talk about, because obviously I could talk about my boots for hours on end. But I tell the story of one of the pairs of boots, because each boot has a story.
That's very, very good. Do you know what? I've checked out some of your live streams already. I've gone through a lot of your videos and tutorials. Been super, super helpful. I'm definitely going to have to make sure that I figure out all the boot stories.
Yeah, I'm going to actually rip out the, using descriptor whatnot, I'm going to rip out the boot of the week story and start posting them on a separate, like on my personal YouTube channel.
A boots only channel.
Can understand. No, just the boot story.
Just the boots. Yeah.
You know what's funny though? On TikTok, you can be on Boot Talk,
right,
which is just talking all about boots. So trust me, I have seen it.
Is that like been there, done that, have the boots?
Yeah, pretty much. Boots and all.
That's awesome.
And you know what? Just for funsies, I was trying my hand at Pod, which is print on demand. And so you can go into sites like Creative Fabrica and then get these designs that you can put on things, whether it be shirts or sweatshirts, whatever. And so but the trick is you're supposed to modify in some way to make it more like handmade in your own. So I do that. I bring it into like Procreate on my iPad, and I just kind of spend some time like doodling in some things or erasing some things and making it like more custom. And then I ended up like trying to put some of these designs up on like Amazon through Merch by Amazon, or again, it's just a different revenue source, because like you try it, put it out once. Etsy, I forgot, I did that too. That's another revenue stream. So I have the animated subscribe button, which I became known for. Right. I put a whole bunch of those on Etsy, and people can buy them as a digital download, and into things like stickers, like makeup swatch stickers that I make out of the Cricut. I was wanting to learn how to do that. I made some, had too many, listed on Etsy. People bought them, just keep listing them, and people keep buying them. So another revenue stream that has nothing to do really with, but anybody can do it. Yeah. Anyone can do that. $12 website or Etsy fee for 30 cents and you're good to go. And so I started doing that too. And then it's all about the boots, man. It's all about trying things. I get distracted easily. You didn't ask about any of that. There we go.
And you know what? I didn't ask about any of that. And it was absolutely 110% worth it. So you have been an absolutely gracious guest. Loved having you on. I only want to know a couple of things more. One is, what are you most looking forward to in the next 12 months?
I have no idea. Yikes. I have no idea.
Okay, I'm going to chalk it up for
gosh, I'm the worst guest ever.
Two occasions of existential angst. It's fine. And one.
Oh, I will ruminate on this and like torture myself for the next year and be like, you remember that one time I asked that question, then I had no answer, and you'll be like, no. And I'll be like, I have not stopped thinking about it for the last year. How can you not remember this moment that we shared?
Absolutely fine. Please don't dwell. It's okay.
No. I'm gonna think of something now. Oh no, the pressure. Wait, what's the second question? So let me come back to this.
Second question is, where can we find you?
That one's easier. You can find me everywhere online under Shelly Saves the Day. So whether that's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all Shelly Saves the Day. Okay, what am I looking forward to in the next year? You know, one thing I am really looking forward to is because we did just recently move. And I don't know if I told you this, but we're going to talk about boots for one more second. So during Halloween, I was looking for these green boots because they have yet to make their debut.
Right.
Okay. And so I was like, oh, I'm going to be Tinkerbell. I got the Tinkerbell costume. It was that color. I was going to wear those boots. And so come Halloween Eve, and because we were going to dance practice, we were dressed up in costumes. And so I was like, okay, just about to leave. So I'm trying to find these green boots. Could not find the green boots anywhere in this house. And I was running around telling my husband, I'm like, have you seen my boots and the green boots? And he's like, no. And I'm like, no, they're like, and I'm like, they have to be in this house, right? Because everything that we've moved from the old house is now here in this house, right? And then that's when he told me that he's like, well, there's a possibility it's not in this house. And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, time stops. I'm like, I will kill you. What are you talking about? And he says, well, I rented a storage unit. And so secretly I've been having boxes there. And then like when you're done with boxes, I sometimes just bring more boxes. And I was like, that is how all these boxes just keep appearing. And I think we're making progress. And then all of a sudden more boxes appear. And I'm like, where did these come from? And of course, the one time I'm looking for something, it's probably not here. And he's like, well, why would you leave it until the last minute? And I was like, because I think everything from the other house is here. What are you talking about? And guess where they were? And they were in the storage unit. And so I was so mad because I ended up having to wear these boots. So one thing that I'm really looking forward to is, one, emptying the storage unit, having all of the items here in this house, knowing where everything is, and feeling like you're at home. Because it's really difficult sometimes when things are in boxes and things are like all around. You're always looking for something and you just don't know where it is. And there's then also this weird feeling of claustrophobia where you're in your office, or because I work from home, obviously, and I'm here in a very small space. But when your office is cluttered and all of that stuff, and it feels like I can't concentrate until things are like put away.
Yeah.
So I feel like once things are all in the house, all put away, all have a home, then I will feel like calm and ready to just like go full gusto with like content creation and creativity, because I won't be thinking about where is this thing that I can't find. That may seem like a small thing for people, but it's weird because we are digital hoarders and just hoarders in general as people. And so moving from a large house into a small house really came to this. I was like, I haven't used this thing in years. I've unpacked this thing. So I ended up, what's funny, as a content creator with gear acquisition syndrome and gear upgrade syndrome, GUS, we call it. I ended up selling a bunch of my old tech. So I had a nicer camera that was more expensive. I ended up trading that in and getting some money for it at a local camera shop. I traded in the lenses because I just don't have the room to store it. I mean, we have to already come up with creative solutions for like the clothes. I'm not getting rid of the boots. Yeah. I would rather get rid of the camera that I don't use. So I just, I feel like still like there's too much stuff, even though I've given away a lot of stuff or sold a lot of stuff. And I just feel overwhelmed by it all. And it would be nice to feel settled, unpacked, completely like we have the right amount of stuff for this house.
And I think that
was probably a very lame answer. I'm sorry.
I think it's an absolutely incredible. One of the things I talk about a lot of the time is cognitive load. And that's a little bit of what you're talking about there, is that yes. Low level underlying thought that just keeps going on. Absolutely. Just wears you down and then limits how much how much focus you have on everything else. So no, I think it's
even getting into this room for a while, like I was tripping over boxes and like doing this fun, like Amazing Race hamster thing to get into this. It just makes you not want to come in, so that kind of stuff, where if you can't feel comfortable in the environment that you're working in or making money in or being creative in, it's hard. Like it just overspills into everything.
You have been an absolutely gracious guest. Loved having you on. I only want to know a couple of things more. One is, what are you most looking forward to in the next 12 months?
I have no idea. Yikes. I have no idea.
Okay, I'm going to chalk it up for
Oh my gosh, I am the worst guest ever.
Two occasions of existential angst. It's fine. And one...
Oh, I will ruminate on this and like torture myself for the next year and be like, you remember that one time I asked that question, then I had no answer? And you'll be like, no. And I'd be like, I have not stopped thinking about it for the last year. How can you not remember this moment that we shared?
Absolutely fine. Please don't dwell. It's okay.
No. I'm gonna think of something now. Oh no, the pressure. Wait, what's the second question? So let me come back to this.
Second question is, where can we find you?
That one's easier. You can find me everywhere online under Shelly Saves the Day. So whether that's YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, all Shelly Saves the Day.